Flights are moving again, but the skies aren't back to normal just yet. The government may be open, but nationwide air traffic cuts, well, that's still in place. What this means for you if you're flying this weekend, live from downtown Dallas, you're up with Daybreak. It is some good weather for flying this weekend, but if you have travel plans, keep in mind you could get jammed up at the airport in the aftermath of the government shutdown. Obviously, that's been an issue for at least a couple weeks now. We're going to get to that in a few minutes, but first, let's talk this near-record November heat with meteorologist Greg Fields. Greg, what is going on? The producer just told us that that tree is 10 feet taller than what we find at Rockefeller, so in your face, New York.
WFAA breaking news now.
We begin with breaking news overnight. The U.S. and Israel have launched strikes on Iran, targeting its leadership and escalating tensions across the Middle East. This video you see shows plumes of smoke rising over Iran's capital, Tehran. Thank you for joining us this morning. I'm Natalie Haddad. President Trump announced the attacks early this morning, saying they are aimed at eliminating security threats from Iran. At this hour, witnesses report hearing explosions and air raid sirens. Let's get the latest from ABC's Michelle Franzen. The Pentagon is calling this Operation Fury. Some of the first strikes appear to hit areas around the offices of the Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. This morning, we know the Defense Secretary and the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff are at Mar-a-Lago monitoring the strikes along with President Trump. We also know Secretary of State Marco Rubio reached out to some members of Congress overnight about the strikes. Reportedly, there was a briefing about Iran ahead of the president's State of the Union address on Tuesday. Immediately following the briefing, Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer told reporters, quote, "This is serious and the administration has to make its case to the American people." Now, we are going to be following the situation all throughout our newscast. Our senior political reporter Jason Whiteley joined us in about 30 minutes to give us more perspective of the situation. And coming up at 9, we'll have a political science expert join us for some analysis. Jason, I want to circle back to something you mentioned a little bit ago about how the threat against Israel would be quite great if Iran were to reestablish its nuclear weaponry. You know, in the last couple of minutes, Iran says that President Trump has, quote, turned America first into Israel first. And we saw Senator John Cornyn release a statement showing his support for President Trump and the United States and Israel attacking Iran. Do we anticipate any backlash to the president for these overnight strikes that did not receive any Congress approval? And we are seeing reports of retaliation strikes from Iran in Israel, Jordan, Qatar. Transparently, I have family in parts of Israel who say they are in bomb shelters right now. No one is working. In fact, they're even tuning into American media to get updates on what is going on. So my question for you is, how strong is Iran's military, and how long do you think we could see retaliation strikes from this military? Mr. Wilson, we have seen a history of protests from the Iranian people protesting their government, the regime. Do you believe that the Iranian people will seize this opportunity to take their country back, as President Trump encouraged them to do when he announced these strikes overnight? A battle over Christmas lights is brewing in Maryland. A family says their homeowners association is taking them to court over the display. Is anyone surprised that the HOA is doing that? But for now, the lights are staying on. Here's ABC's Sophie Flay with more. Those lights aren't nearly as bright as what we saw in our last story.
I was going to say.
HOAs, you know what? I'm going to be careful about what I say on the air. My bosses are watching. Don't be so grinchy.
That's good.
Yeah, that's a PG thing to say.
Have you seen Deerfield? It's amazing. And I was at least let them get in the Christmas spirit. We don't have snow on the ground. Would be nice.
If we can't have snow, let us have lights.
That's right.
1,400 feet.
Wow.
I forget the name of the movie I watched when I was younger. I think actually, is it Dante's Peak?
Yes, it's a great movie. I'm glad
Is it? Because
I've made my wife watch that like 5 times. She's fallen asleep. Pierce Brosnan, great movie.
Sure, yes, him.
Yeah.
But the movie really freaked me out as a young child. It really unsettled me, and there are some scenes in that movie
That's a great movie.
I can still see in my head. I'm like, you know what?
When they're in the gym,
I think I'm good not being near a volcano anytime soon, or bodies of water near the volcano.
Agreed.
Authorities are still investigating a deadly explosion and massive fire that ripped through a nursing home in eastern Pennsylvania. At least 2 people were killed, 20 others hospitalized. Authorities believe it all started with a gas leak. Here's ABC's Catherine Scott with the latest on the investigation. Reinforcements are on the way for the Dallas Cowboys. The Cowboys activated a bunch of players back to their roster ahead of their game this weekend against the Denver Broncos. Joining me now is our Locked On Cowboys podcast host, Landon McCool. Landon, thank you for joining us today. Let's move on to Cowboys offense. We have seen flashes of explosiveness this season. People seem to be at least a little satisfied with it. What will they need to do to sustain that against Denver's defense? And basketball is so back. The Dallas Mavericks just kicked off their season opener at home this week, and tonight they'll have another shot at a W against the Washington Wizards. Joining me live in studio to talk more about what this season could have in store is the president of the Dallas Mavericks, Ethan Casson. Ethan, thank you for joining us, and a proper Dallas welcome to you. You just got here.
I just got here.
I imagine there is a secret formula to making it all happen on the court and behind the scenes. I've got a question for you, lightning round edition. If you could describe the Dallas Mavericks in one word, what would it be and why?
Committed.
It is an understatement to say the restaurant industry is facing a tough time as businesses are closing up shop. But sometimes all it takes is a visit from the right person. And as Adriana de Alba shows us, that's exactly what happened to one restaurant in Arlington. The Justice Department released another batch of files connected to the Jeffrey Epstein case. However, there are still more questions after a report from the Associated Press says 16 documents from Friday's batch disappeared from the department's website. The holidays can be a roller coaster of emotions. Some of us feel happy and excited, but others feel the opposite, especially those who are battling addiction. That's why it is so important to help those who need it this holiday season, reaching out to your loved ones. Now, joining me this morning is Vanessa Woods. She is an alumni from the Dallas 24-Hour Club. I've done some stories with them. They do awesome work. Good morning to you, Vanessa. Thanks for being with us this morning.